If you're planning a Walt Disney World vacation, you've probably heard people talking about lightning lanes. Some guests swear by them and won't visit Disney without them. Others think that they are overpriced, stressful, and a step backwards from the old FastPass system. So today we're going to break down exactly what lightning lanes are, how they work, and most importantly, the biggest pros and cons so you can decide whether they are worth it for your next Disney World trip. Let's get into this. For anyone who is new to Disney planning, lightning lanes are essentially Disney World's paid skip the line system. If you purchase this option, you join a dedicated queue that is separate from the main one, and you will experience a significantly shorter wait time. The old FastPass system used to be free, but this was retired and has been replaced with the current lightning lane system. There are 3 different options available. Firstly, you have the Lightning Lane Multipass, which allows you to select your desired starting park and book up to 3 rides ahead of your arrival, and you will have a dedicated time slot to ride. This utilizes a tier system where you can book 1 tier ride attraction and 2 tier 2. Once you have used your initial rides, you can then begin to book others and even book in other parks if availability allows. If you're staying at a Walt Disney World hotel, you can purchase and book lightning lanes 7 days before your check-in date for the length of your stay. Everyone else can book 3 days before their park visit. This gives Disney hotel guests a pretty significant advantage when it comes to securing the most popular attractions. Pricing for Multipass depends on the busyness levels of the park, and it does vary between parks. For example, Animal Kingdom is generally the cheapest, with Magic Kingdom almost always at the top. Then we have Lightning Lane Single Pass, which can be purchased individually to select a time slot for top attractions such as Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Flight of Passage, and Tron. This is a good option if you want to ride one of the major rides without the queue times. And finally, there is the most expensive option, Lightning Lane Premier Pass. This one allows you one-time entry into each ride that is available as part of this experience in one park. You have the freedom to ride the attractions when you like. There is no scheduled arrival windows for this. This does sound great, but there is a cost associated with it, and sometimes you're looking at hundreds of dollars per person. For that reason, we have never personally tried this one. We have, however, utilized single pass attractions and the multipass on multiple occasions. We have also previously used the old FastPass system. So with that explanation out of the way, let's get into the positives of using this for your park days. So clearly, the first huge pro of the lightning lane system, and the reason why people buy lightning lanes from the get-go, is that it massively reduces your wait times. The difference can be huge. Take Slinky Dog Dash at Hollywood Studios as an example. It's not uncommon to see standby waits of 90, 100 minutes, or even longer during busy periods. In the past, when we have used the lightning lane for this experience, we have waited between maybe 5, 10 minutes, and then we're on the ride. This is a huge saving, and we all know that Disney World is expensive and our time in the parks is very valuable. So anything that does help you spend more time on the rides, more time enjoying the parks, and less time in a queue is obviously going to appeal to everyone. Lightning lanes also provide you some peace of mind that provided the ride doesn't break down, fingers crossed, you will have secured a time slot to ride. Ride wait times are sometimes hard to gauge. You can walk through Epcot, see a kind of test track showing a 70-minute wait. You might debate whether to join the line now or maybe try and wait and see if that does come down. But with this, you run the risk that the wait time might actually get even longer. With lightning lanes, we already know that you have that ride time secure, so you can kind of relax a little bit more, and we find it does reduce the stress of having to figure out when and what to ride next. This is actually probably one of the most underrated benefits for us. As a family, we love to park hop, and if you have the relevant tickets, you can also do this with the Lightning Lane. On previous visits, we've had a lot of success of purchasing a Lightning Lane for one of the cheaper parks, such as Animal Kingdom, utilizing our pre-selected rides in the morning, and then once we've done that, we can check park availability for the other parks and see which one we want to head to, maybe later in the afternoon or the evening. We have had pretty good success with this strategy, and we've managed to pick up evening rides on things such as Slinky Dog Dash, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and also Tiana's. This, of course, is never going to be guaranteed, but if you are willing to keep an eye on the availability for those other rides, you can really maximize your full day and get your money's worth. This next one might be a bit contentious, but we love to plan our Disney World holidays, and it is a big part of the experience for us. For that reason, we love to plan out and figure out what days we are going to be using our Lightning Lanes and figuring out what rides we want to pick for that day. Spending this time going through the itinerary, and then if you are staying on site, making those actual bookings 7 days ahead of your travel day builds the excitement, and it kind of gives you even more reason to look forward to your trip, knowing that you're going to be riding that particular ride on that particular day. As Brits, we are very fortunate that we do visit for longer periods of time, but if you are only visiting for 3 or 4 days, Lightning Lanes do become much easier to justify. If you're on a 2-week holiday, queuing for an hour isn't going to be a big deal, but if you are only in Hollywood Studios for 1 day, that is a different story. By using the Lightning Lane system, you'll be able to kind of fit significantly more attractions into your limited amount of time, and this could be one of the best tools available to you. Now let's get into the cons, because the system is definitely not perfect and it does have its flaws. One thing we have fallen victim to in the past is that using Lightning Lanes has meant we actually ended up walking a lot more, which in the Florida heat can be very draining. This is something a lot of people may not always think about, but once you have completed your first 3 rides, you kind of end up trying to get to another ride, and then you quickly find yourself chasing that ride time, zigzagging across the parks, and all of that in 1 day will add lots and lots of extra steps to your step count. Without Lightning Lanes, you might be more strategic, you might try and tackle one area at a time, but when it comes to using the Lightning Lanes, you are kind of dictated by that next arrival time. The next con is kind of associated to the first one, and that is if you're constantly running around trying to make that next arrival time, or maybe checking the next times, looking at your phone, trying to make another reservation, it can sometimes feel like you are just rushing around the park and you're not actually taking that time to enjoy the atmosphere, check out those smaller details that come with the Disney parks, such as the music, the architecture, the entertainment. Obviously, I'm sure you will still find time for this later in your day, but Lightning Lanes can sometimes unintentionally turn a relaxing day into a little bit of a mission as you're trying to ride as many rides as possible. At Disney World, no one wants to have their head in their phone, and when on vacation, I do try and spend less time staring at my phone, but unfortunately, Lightning Lane can add more screen time to your Disney day. You'll find yourself checking the return times, looking for better reservations, modifying your bookings, and checking on your next attraction. For some, this might not be an issue, but for others, it can be frustrating quite quickly, and it might be one of the biggest downfalls if you're just wanting to enjoy that time with your family away from your phone. Now, time to tackle the biggest criticism, and that is the cost. The FastPass system used to be free. Now guests are paying extra on top of those park tickets, hotels, food, and everything else involved with the Disney vacation. If you are a family of 4, the costs do add up very quickly, and that's before even considering single pass, multi-pass, or that Premier Pass option. Whether the value is worth it is obviously going to depend entirely on your budget and priorities, but there is no denying that Disney vacations have become increasingly more expensive. One thing that people may not realize is that success, getting those good rides after you've done your first few reservations isn't going to be guaranteed. Yes, we've managed to grab some excellent rides later in the day, but there have also been days when the only options available to us are attractions with standby waits of 10 or 15 minutes, and this is when the value starts to become a little bit questionable. You pay for Lightning Lane expecting multiple headliner attractions and ending up using some reservations on rides that barely need a skip a line option in the first place. A lot of this will depend on crowd levels, park choice, and how quickly you're able to grab new reservations throughout the day. I do think that this is in the minority, however, it is definitely something to consider when you are making those bookings. Next, we're going to talk about the booking window, specifically if you are staying off-site. Being a Disney Resort guest does give you the perk of being able to book 7 days ahead versus 3 days ahead if you are staying off-site, and this can make a major difference when it comes to securing the most popular attractions. If you are staying off-site, be prepared that some of the best ride and return times may have already gone before your booking window even opens. Many guests feel the system would be fair if everyone had access at the same time. As much as I do understand this perspective, I do feel that over time, Disney Resort guest perks have been diminished, so having this little perk is definitely something that I think Disney should retain. And finally, we have the tier system, which can be a little bit frustrating to get your head around. Certain parks separate attractions into different tiers, limiting which top attractions you can select initially. The good news is that once you have used your first reservations, you can start booking additional tier 1 attractions if they're available, of course. So it's not quite as restrictive as it first appears, but it does add another layer of complexity to a system, and kind of sometimes you might have to choose between some of the best rides that you want to get on, and it can be a little bit confusing. So there's the pros and cons. Are Lightning Lanes worth it? For us, the answer is usually yes, but there are definitely some caveats with it. If you're visiting during a busy period, have limited time, or really want to experience as many headline attractions as possible, Lightning Lanes can save hours of waiting and dramatically improve your day. However, they are definitely not essential. If you're taking things slowly, don't like planning, hate being on your phone, or you're trying to keep costs down, you can still have an amazing Disney vacation without them. At the end of the day, Lightning Lanes are a convenient product. You're paying money to save time. Whether it's worth it does depend on how valuable time is to you. But we'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you buy Disney Lightning Lanes every trip? Do you think Disney should bring back free fast passes? Or do you skip Lightning Lanes completely? Let us know in the comments, and if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.